Hi, my name is Mandolin Royal, and today I'm gonna go sneak in on the guys and see what they're doing. My husband went and picked up some steer hides from the processor where our beef comes from in Indiana. And my uncle is in there with them, showing them how to scrape a hide. He was born probably a century or two too late for what he's into. But I want to see where they're at with it and what they're doing. We ended up getting 3 hides total. And this is the scraping process after having salted them to start the drying process. The goal here is to get it into a state of rawhide so that then it buys us time on when we can tan it. There's a couple different tanning options. We haven't yet settled on which one we're going to use yet. But this is the most important part right now. This is what's going to preserve the hide so that we don't lose them. We do have warmer temperatures coming, and we need to make sure that they're well preserved. This is a very primitive hands-on technique for the scraping. This part of the hide down here has already been done. So, are you guys gonna salt it again after this?
Probably just for longevity of storage with the influx of temperatures, and then it will be folded flesh upon flesh and then rolled back up so we can have a couple extra days for trying to figure out how we're going to tan or if we're just going to make rawhide.
And since we have 3 hides,
these score marks, you got to be careful when you're fleshing. I was telling Albert, this happened at the butcher. We thought they would be pulled skins, but actually they was pulling and cutting. This is not from our fleshing. So on this particular case, when we're running up on, this is the hair root where they almost cut through.
So that'll be thinner once processed.
Yes, it's still a good piece of leather or a good piece of rawhide for usable projects. This area here, you want to hold, what I do is hold that blade 90-degree parallel and you're scraping that. Because if you're trying to fillet, which is what we're doing now to get off the bulk of the heavy cartilage and fat and membrane, if you try to fillet this, you'll just
add more marks.
Well, not only that, but you'll take a risk of cutting where they already scored it. These are called score marks, which hurts the value of leather if you're buying it, but it doesn't hurt for a project. And then, of course, Albert was combing the fur to get out burrs and manure from where it was processed or in the
is that just a wire brush?
That's just a wire brush, which the fur needs to be deburred or cleaned of its waste. So when we're doing the flat fleshing method, you don't want to hit that because you will cut the hide.
Yeah.
So we're cleaning as we go. This is still just a rough draft, but this is what we're after. This layer right here, this is all your flesh layer down to the epidermis. When you start seeing the blue, that means you're getting to the hair follicles. That's when you stop.
And I'm assuming it's a lot easier to see that on something with the black skin, or the black hair rather, showing through.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we have the idea of possibly taking the pressure washer on a low mode and getting this out.
And yeah, that makes sense.
Instead of pulling the hair, because you'll find that the hair...
Well, especially if you build that A-frame you were talking about, that would give a really good surface for power washing on.
Yes.
But this will be, we quartered, right now we halved all these hides, which we split it from the back of the neck straight down the spine to the tail. That's what this is, right down the middle. So this is a half a hide. And then what I'm going to do with mine, when I get it back to the cabin, I'm going to quarter mine. And it just makes it easier to manipulate, to work, and you got different tanning options. I'm going to probably make a piece of rawhide, maybe a piece of vegetable tan, and possibly even a small piece with the hair on for maybe a saddlebag.
Yeah, that would look really good.
Especially for cowboy action shooting.
Yeah,
And
yep.
the tools of choice, I'm using original knives, fur trade, beaver skinners. This one's from Wyoming. They're just different blade shapes. You get better results with the upsweep blade for skinning. And what we're doing, I call it the fillet method. You're going like this, and then you can use this as a small draw knife, to where all this stuff here will tan. But if you wanted to nitpick it to death, some people do. You hold this 90-degree parallel, and you're using it like a draw knife, and you're just scraping that off, and you're getting little stuff like that. But technically, all this here will tan, regardless. Rawhide, vegetable, brain tan, regardless. All this little itty-bitty membrane will tan. Albert is turning it around to the neck because the rear is about done.
And you can see there's still a lot of fleshing to come off of there.
Yeah, this is the neck area, and she is just about done. And then one thing in our favor, we have the cold temperatures. These will roll up hair side out, of course, and resalted. They'll last for a week until you determine what I am going to do with mine. I'm going to get it to the cabin, get it fleshed, get it tacked up, and let it dry rawhide. And then I can come back in the middle of June, and I can tan it later if I so choose.
Yeah, after you've reached that state of being rawhide.
Yes, it does have to be rawhide for longevity, or if you don't have that option, time, material, tools, then once you get it fleshed, or let's say today you can't finish this, you can refreeze it. In our case, we have the 20-degree nights. For the next couple nights, this hide folded upon itself, it will last for another week. It's not mold, it's not mildewed, it's not breaking down in the membrane. This blue shows that it's a summer hide or early spring, and the hide is thinner in those blue areas. Your whiter areas will be the center of the back and things like that. But it's going to yield a good piece of leather.
That makes sense. Well, I figured I'd stop in and see what you guys were up to.
Well, thank you. We've got a lot of work in our midst.
Yeah, but it's looking good.
To get it done.
I'm going to go back and fool with my chickens.